Influencer Alex Clark has a cure for what ails you. Get married, have babies. Of course, she's 33 and she's done neither. But this isn't just about right-wing hypocrisy. Her MAHA nonsense is hurting real women. I'm Amanda Marcotte. Welcome to Standing Room Only. Ladies, are you feeling stressed out, overworked? Do you want nothing more than to come home at the end of the day, pour a whiskey, and zone out in front of the TV? Well, TPUSA's Alex Clark has just the prescription for you. Have a baby. Or really, have lots of babies.
Self magazine came out with this huge spread accusing MAHA, the Make America Healthy Again movement, of wanting to put women back in the kitchen. You know what? Hell yeah. Less Prozac, more protein. Less burnout, more babies.
Because you know who's never burned out? The mother of a newborn. Go to your doctor and be like, I'm sick of being on Prozac. I've decided I want to have a baby. And he's going to be like, that's definitely not going to work. Alex is the host of Culture Apothecary. It's basically the so-called wellness podcast for TPUSA. She claims she's here to make America healthy again. But like RFK Jr., Dr. Oz, or other MAHA hacks, she's actually in the business of peddling disinformation. It's dangerous, especially her attacks on birth control. Alex's content and others like it is having an impact. The New York Times spoke to women who listened to Alex and not to their doctors. They went off of birth control, and some even got pregnant accidentally. Senator Ron Johnson even had Alex testify before Congress about the supposed evils of birth control. Republicans don't do that for fun. They're laying the groundwork to restrict your access to contraception. There's a reason that TPUSA hired Alex, and it's not just that she's into organic food. Like her old boss, Charlie Kirk, she wants you to get married young and have kids before you're ready. She and her guests say that this will heal you. I'll discuss this more during Pass the Mic with my guest, Rebecca Watson, who debunks these wellness influencers for a living. Alex tries to scare women into not listening to their doctor, especially when it comes to contraception.
Pediatricians wasted no time telling us that there was a magic pill that could solve all of our problems in a 10-minute wellness checkup with no informed consent about the risks or side effects. Birth control numbs you, takes away your period, and then you lose all the vital signs that your body tells you.
Women are operating in a completely different state of mind on the pill.
Have you heard of this? Women saying to you, Sarah, oh my gosh, I got off the pill and I am like, I'm not even in love with my husband. I'm not attracted to my husband. Is there any scientific evidence whatsoever that being on the pill could change your sexual orientation?
So that's interesting. So there's no research on that. Okay, so there's zero. But I have gotten emails from women who have had this happen.
I've been on the pill since I was 19 years old. I've gone off it a couple times for various reasons, and I can tell you, it didn't change my sexual orientation. It didn't make me suicidal. I don't think it made me any crazier. I'm just equally crazy. And I can definitely tell you that as many times as I've gone to the doctor to get my prescription re-upped, never once did they say, this will cure all of your problems. She paints it as a crisis if young women hold out for the right guy before they get married.
It's like women, we're creating this problem ourselves with having too high standards. Honestly, this is gonna be a hot take to say, and this is gonna rub people the wrong way, but we've gotten too educated. We've climbed the ladder too much at work. We're elevating ourselves to such a level as women that it is impossible for the men to catch up. And so because of that, nobody wants to marry us.
What a guy really likes is someone who can't read. Maybe there are some guys who like that, but you definitely don't want to date them. Her show is all about having even more babies.
We are in the middle of a baby-making health crisis.
If you are an adult who wants kids, but you're listening to this conversation and you're like, I am nowhere near where I need to be, defending Christianity, should you have kids?
Oh, absolutely.
Why is it sometimes so easy for like some woman on meth in the street to get pregnant and not this woman who's living this non-toxic, organic lifestyle?
Yeah, it's super unfair. That lady on meth is not stressed. She's having a blast.
Mm.
Right? She's having a blast by her. That's why she's a meth addict. She's having a blast in her life. She is relaxed. She's not showing up for work at 8 a.m., right? She's actually in her feminine.
So the meth head
Yeah.
is in her divine feminine. The suburban housewife is stressed to the max, constantly ruminating on getting pregnant.
If that's what the divine feminine looks like, who would want that? I mean, there's kind of like the singularity of conservative rhetoric is this idea that you look at a homeless woman living on the street who's strung out on drugs and you're like, there's someone living her best life. You may not have the time or resources right now to raise kids, but Alex's show is all about how it's not that hard if you embrace an authoritarian parenting style.
I think this all really goes back to what you talked about in the very, very beginning, which is total depravity and understanding that your kid is a sinner.
Mm-hmm.
They're not good inside. They're not
Right.
born good inside.
Right.
In your view, do you think that all children benefit from spanking?
Ooh, Alex. You want me to get some hate emails now. Okay, let me say this. For my kids, the biblical use of the rod, I did that in the right way.
There's no way to beat a child with a stick in the right way. Oh, these people suck. Alex's message is very much what we're hearing from all corners of the right, but she's got this hip wellness brand. She's luring in young women with this Pilates aesthetic. And once they're in the door, the promise is that she can convert them into Republicans. She even has a nickname for her fans.
Don't forget to join the Cute Conservatives Facebook group. Post the pics in the Cute Conservatives Facebook group. I know you're already in the Cute Conservatives Facebook group.
Cute conservatives. And yep, Alex is yet another do as I say and not as I do anti-feminist. At 33 years old, she's still unmarried and childless. She's been single so long that she was on a dating show before the first Trump administration. To be fair, Alex says she wants to get married and have kids, but she just hasn't found the right guy yet.
I have no kids and I'm not married yet. Want to be desperately. I would have gotten married at 19 years old, if I would have met the right person.
Totally.
It just hasn't happened yet.
It's a huge hurt in my life, singleness at this age. But I also think that having that standard has pushed out a lot of the wrong men.
Now I'm getting into this age range where so many people are like, well, would you be open to dating a man who's been divorced or has children? And I'm like, almost probably no.
This is why I'm single because, it's like, well, what was it like dating Alex Clark? Well, I took her to New York and guess what she wanted to see on Broadway? SpongeBob the Musical.
If you're like, you must love God, you can't be divorced, and you must love SpongeBob. I mean, again, that's great, but you might be waiting a while. Once in a while, she'll hint that she does date, as when she rolled out her boyfriend, Steve, last year.
Recently, my boyfriend asked me to make him some buffalo chicken dip, so I go to work making this dip because I'm a slave to my man. I'm not down with the patriarchy and I love it. But here's the thing. I wasn't just going to serve any chips with it. I needed chips that could handle it and be good for you. So I grabbed some MAHA habanero chips because I've learned if you're gonna do it right. He takes a bite and immediately says, "This combo is gas," direct quote. That's Steve talk for, "This is my new favorite thing that you've ever made me." A few minutes later, and Steve had eaten enough dip to fill an Olympic swimming pool. So that's a huge deal.
Alex met Steve in January of 2025. She said they went ring shopping the very next month. It's been a year and, well, I don't see a ring on her finger. It's been a year, Alex! Truly, it would be fine if Alex didn't make a living lecturing the rest of us about getting married and about how young women are too picky or deluded by feminism. And yeah, hypocrites are a dime a dozen in the GOP, but it really matters here. Alex is part of an influencer ecosystem that uses health as an excuse to curtail women's rights. Florida just appointed a birth control opponent to their state medical board. In his confirmation hearing, he used the same falsehoods that Alex spouts on her show. The people behind Project 2025 have a new report out that uses MAHA rhetoric to push policies to force women out of work and into early motherhood. They even echo her "healing a sick culture" tagline. They say their goal is the health and survival of the republic. I mean, hers is a little bit better. Alex would have you believe that early marriage and childbirth will make women healthier and happier. But her own life shows that this is not true. She's taking care of herself by not rushing into marriage. Steve. She should give other women the respect and the freedom to do the same. I'd like to welcome Rebecca Watson to the program. She's the founder and longtime runner of Skepchick and knows all about debunking this MAHA nonsense. Welcome to Standing Room Only, Rebecca.
Thanks for having me, Amanda. Great to see you.
You've been debunking MAHA long before it was called MAHA.
Yeah, for a while it was cast as a more liberal sort of pseudoscience. And so I was forced to defend it as being from my people. And now it's clearly not my people, and I'm still debunking it.
With someone like Alex Clark, who works for TPUSA and is their kind of wellness person, what do you find the most frustrating about her?
Oh, geez, where to start? It used to be these older, 60-plus-year-old men who were attacking women's right to access basic health care. And in the past several decades, those men have successfully recruited young women to be their voice, to parrot everything that they had been saying, but to do it from the perspective of a young woman, which is more likely to, successfully convince other young women to believe what they're saying. But it's the same anti-woman BS. And so I think that is the most frustrating thing, is to see what is basically a puppet, being manipulated by older men to say what they want in order to take away women's rights.
One of the things that she does really effectively is it's not just that she's a young woman. She presents herself as this wellness influencer who's there to give you advice about your health and frankly, your looks and your diet and your exercise routine. And so this first clip I want to show you, it's from an episode where she has this other very young woman on claiming that they can help you balance your hormones with your diet. So
What does a hormone balanced meal look like?
Hormone balanced meal, at its very core, has proteins, fats, carbs, starchy veggies. So I joke all the time that I eat like a baby-led weaned baby, because my meals are so simple. It's I'll just have steak and sweet potato and avocado. I eat really
That's what
simply.
I do.
Yeah, it's good, and it's easy.
Once in a blue moon, I will get a wild hair and I will follow some kind of crazy recipe, like a special chicken dish and sauce and all this. But that is so rare. Most of the time, like last night, I had baked beans, which this isn't totally a hormone balanced meal, but I did have baked beans because I love baked beans. I eat them 4 times a week. I had a ribeye, and then I had a whole bunch of asparagus, and that was my meal.
Good.
I should have had rice or potatoes, but to have a carb.
Beans are good.
Wow, they discovered food. Congratulations to them. What does any of that have to do with hormones? They're just saying things because they think that it sounds impressive, but it's yeah, you discovered a simple meal. Congrats.
A simple but flavorless meal. I kind of, what jumps out at me is this idea that really how you balance your hormones is you never eat anything that tastes like food again. No sauce, no salts.
There's this constant need to repackage just eating normal food as something special and to act like they have some grand wisdom that the rest of us are missing out on. And they're doing it by saying hormones. In the past, people have claimed blood types are, this is my blood type diet. And none of it makes sense. And unfortunately, I think that it's a reaction to, the kernel of truth at the heart of this MAHA stuff is that, yeah, the Western diet is full of a lot of crap that's bad for you. There's sugar in everything we eat. There's too much fat. All of our snacks have been carefully invented by teams of researchers to make us want to eat more and more and more. And so the response, unfortunately, the right wing has realized that this is an easy on-ramp for them to get people who are vaguely aware of that problem. They're using that as a way to on-ramp them into this conservative ideology where you start out saying, oh, yeah, real food, like a steak and some asparagus. Wow. And then before you know it, we're talking about how, oh, you know what else is bad for you? Vaccines and birth control and things like that. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, you can see like with the framing of balancing your hormones through food, how they're going to on-ramp you to a huge part of Alex Clark's message, which is go off the birth control pill.
And this is another issue that is a systemic problem that leads to an opening for grifters, which is that in the United States, we don't have decent access to healthcare for everyone. And so in a better country where a woman could have a doctor who understands her, who sees her, who answers her questions when she has them, and in a better country where a woman is educated about her own body growing up, then she would know more about her hormonal cycle. She would know what impacts it and what does not. And she would know what sort of things to look out for as possible warning signs that, yeah, maybe her hormones are out of whack.
One thing I realized, like going through a lot of this MAHA stuff, is that where you do see a connection is there's this traditional conservative idea that in the past people were somehow smarter than we are now. And you kind of get a lot of that mentality with this wellness influencer thing. And it takes Alex particularly into some really dark corners on her show. So this next clip is her interviewing a woman who thinks that the 19th century level of women's rights was approximately the correct one.
Do you believe that women's suffrage has been a net negative or a net positive for society?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think it's been a net negative to go from the household vote to the individual vote. You know, that shift in political philosophy. In the colonial era, the dominant political philosophy was called classical republicanism. And it was the idea that social institutions like the family are organic structures. In other words, it's not just a couple of individuals, an aggregate of individuals who happen to have a common interest. No, there's a connection between the family. We have a loyalty and a love and a connection that's organic, that goes beyond just individuals.
Right now on social media, there's a ton of nostalgia for the 19th century. You see your ballerina farms. A lot of the trad wife stuff isn't even like 1950s. It's literally Victorian 19th century ways of living. Why do you think it's so popular on social media right now? Why do people want to go back to the days before the car and the telephone?
I think there are a number of reasons. And again, I'm going to point to a systemic problem that leads to this sort of thing, which is an increasing feeling that we are, that the world is too complicated, that there's too much to keep track of, and that we as an individual, we are losing control of our own lives. And I think that there's this nostalgia for a past that never existed, where we do not have any of this stuff. Like it's this technology that's ruining our lives. It's this medicine, it's social media, it's the internet in general. And if we just get rid of all of that, then we can go back to our pure forms where everything will be better. And you know, we see this on the left too, or at least in liberal circles where, you know, there's this fear mongering about social media and about how cell phones are ruining society. It's the same sort of idea where we're trying to find a simple solution to a complicated problem. And I think that the problem is actually caused, well, I'm a little biased. I think pretty much most problems are caused by capitalism, but in this case, we have this lack of meaning in our lives, where we are expected to work too hard for too long, to make too little money, to not be able to afford our own homes, our health care, our food. And so that's a complicated problem to solve, which is finding meaning in a world that we've sort of made finding meaning not worth it, because that doesn't make you money, and so the simpler solution to that is to say, well, if we just get rid of all of the progress that we've made, we can go back to those times when I think people had meaning. But that's not how it works. It all ties in together, where these influencers are pushing these vapid podcast interviews as, present company excluded, obviously, but they're pushing these vapid interviews as a replacement for actually reading and understanding history. It's an ersatz sort of education where people can watch Joe Rogan or whatever, and they come away feeling like they've learned something, when in fact they have just been filled with pseudoscience and a completely incorrect reading of history, but they feel satisfied to the point that they do not seek out anything else. And so is it possible to reach, the people in that clip? Absolutely not, because they actually, who knows what they actually believe. It's not, they are there to make money and to sell this idea. So it's possible to reach the same audience that they are reaching out to, which is what I try to do, and I think what you try to do as well. But they are gone because they are, they're operating for a different cause. They're there to make money and to manipulate their audience.
The last clip I want to show you is about it. She has a lot of people that come on preaching this kind of traditional Christian gender roles on her show. And she interviewed this guy whose explanation for how to make it starts off in a very kind of wellness vein, right? How do you make your marriage healthier, happier, something a lot of the women's audience wants to hear. And the answer he comes up with is, you need to submit harder to your husband. But in the clip I want to show you, he kind of admits it doesn't actually work the way it's supposed to sometimes. So I thought this was kind of fun.
There are a lot of women in my audience who feel like, I am being a submissive wife. I am going out of my way to love and respect my husband. I am asking him, how can I best serve you today? And he is still totally rejecting me. He is not leading. He is not loving me in an understanding way. And I'm wanting to seek outside help. I'm wanting to have, other couples at our church that have been married a lot longer disciple us or pour into us. And he is just totally pissed for me even suggesting that we bring others in. Like, how does a wife navigate that?
A wife in that hard situation prays.
Just pray more. Go ahead.
This is a really good example of what I mentioned at the top that I find so frustrating about this. She is there to be a mouthpiece for men. Men are the only ones who truly want women to submit to them without question. I mean, if you build this fantasy world for women where she's married to the perfect guy and she doesn't have to do anything but cook and clean the house, and just do whatever he says, like, in a way, yeah, wouldn't that be nice, and there's been a long running joke amongst me and a lot of my girlfriends where we're like, yeah, why can't we be stay-at-home dog moms, like, screw work, like, that's what we're doing, let's send the men off to make our money for us. But
expect nothing
joke.
Of you. Yeah,
Right.
He won't expect anything. Don't worry about it.
Right. It's a fantasy, and it 100% benefits men.
I feel like there's a lot of overlap here too with the way that wellness influencers peddle single cure-alls, right? They often have the one trick to fix everything that's wrong with you. The one trick to fix everything wrong with your marriage is submit. And then when people go, but it's not working for me.
Submit harder.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, do you see that with wellness influencers? Are they often, when they get that kind of response from people, like, do they respond similarly?
Oh, 100%. You see it in pretty much every area of pseudoscience where the cure-all that is being peddled to you works. And if it doesn't work for you, that's your fault. But that's what the snake oil salesman always has to fall back on. It's not my product that's wrong. It's you, the customer, who is wrong.
Okay, well, that's perfect. That's a great place to leave it. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining me on Standing Room Only. So go ahead, hype yourself. Tell people how to follow you online and get more of these awesome insights.
Sure. You can find me at my website, skepchick.org, skepchick.org, or on YouTube. You can just search for my name, Rebecca Watson, or I'm on Blue Sky and Mastodon and all of those under Rebecca Watson and Skepchick, and you'll find me. I'm out there. I'm hard to miss.
Awesome. Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you, Amanda.
And thank you for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos like this. And stick around for Encore. We have a great song recommendation this week for you. Hey folks, coming to you from Latchkey Records. That is my partner's store in Philadelphia. We just got finished with the listening party for the new Harry Styles album, which is called Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally. I'm not going to recommend a song off of that, even though, man, that album was really fun. And apparently Harry Styles said he was inspired to change his sound up and do something a little bit more danceable because of the band LCD Sound System. So our song recommendation this week, and I'm just going to keep layering it, is not LCD Sound System. They're very famous. But this single of mine that I'm very proud to own, which is Must Be the Moon by a band called Chick Chick Chick. And I am picking them because they're from the same era as LCD Sound System, so this is kind of the same sound that was inspiring Harry Styles. And this band is from New York, and this comes off their 2007 album Myth Takes, and they were such a good time. I've seen them play in New York so many times, and it's always an insane dance party. And this particular single, it's just kind of a little story about a guy having kind of a crazy night in New York City, and was very evocative of the time. And it's fun to hear that sound come back and to inspire another generation, even though I imagine that the people from that era, when they were doing these kind of dance records, LCD Sound System, Chick Chick Chick, bands like that, the indie sleaze era, a lot of people call it, I think a lot of them probably wouldn't love to hear that they are now the elders who are inspiring the young people to take their sound. But I'm pretty happy about it. And I'm happy that it's inspiring somebody as famous as Harry Styles. And I'm glad that it's bringing that sound back. So yeah, the song recommendation of the week, Must Be the Moon by Chick Chick Chick. If you want more Standing Room Only episodes, please click the subscribe button below. Standing Room Only started as a newsletter, and it's free to read. Click the link to subscribe. I love tips. These political battles are playing out in your communities, your towns, your neighborhoods, your schools. If you have a story, please drop me a line or leave it in comments.